In 1983, my then husband, or as Richard likes to refer to him, my husband, and I went to Europe for a honeymoon trip for 5 weeks. It was my first time going over there. And I remember thinking when we arrived in Ireland, wow, everyone looks so Irish. Red hair and kind of ruddy cheeks and freckles and all that. And then we went on to France, and everyone looked very French, and there was French language and architecture and French food, and we got in a train and we went over to Italy, and man, as soon as we crossed over that border into Italy, bam, everyone looked Italian, they talked Italian, they gestured Italian, man, we were immersed in Italy. And we completed our trip in Greece, and it was just all Greek to me. And I just remember feeling amazed that this trip really felt a lot like a real-life version of being on that Walt Disney World ride, It's a Small World, that each time we crossed over the border into another country, that it felt kind of like turning. How many of you have been on that ride, by the way? You've been to that ride, or you know about it? So it was a lot like being on that boat, minus the obnoxious music, on that ride, and just sort of turning the corner, and voila! It's like a whole new world. And that's really how it was in those European countries. But that's not how it is here. That's not how it is in the U.S. We don't all have the same heritage here. We don't all look alike and talk alike and live alike. Our population is multicultural and diverse. And that's not a bad thing. That's a glorious thing. That is a glorious, magnificent thing. They used to refer to America as a melting pot, and that term isn't really used much anymore, and I think it's because it didn't really work that well, frankly, as an analogy, because it sort of implied, it had kind of an undercurrent to it, that all of our differences would just melt away, and we would all eventually become kind of the same. Presumably, the closer to white Anglo-Saxon, the better. And so now that term has been kind of traded in. I don't refer to America as a melting pot anymore, but rather refer to it as a salad of diversity, in the sense that every ingredient in the salad bowl has its own unique sort of flavor and contribution and beauty. And all together we create this beautiful whole. This one beautiful salad, if you will. Well, I'm not sure that's actually the best analogy either, but I think it moves us in the right direction, because diversity is delicious. Diversity is enriching. It is something to cherish and to celebrate. And I also believe it's a mark of distinction for us here in the U.S. I have been so amazed, really, throughout my adult life, to realize how much people in other countries pay attention to what is going on here in the U.S. Have you ever sort of marveled at that as well? And certainly most recently with them hosting Black Lives Matter protests, and they kind of blow you away. I feel like, wow, they really pay close attention. They feel really connected to us. And I'm sure the fact that we are a superpower and a huge economic power in the world and a major influencer has a lot to do with that. But I have to think that on some level, they're also just a little bit fascinated with us over here in America. This multicultural, multiracial, multi-faith, multi-everything country that is the United States. And I imagine that whether it's subconscious or not, they're kind of thinking as they look at our great diversity, how's that working for you, America? How's that working for you? My wish is that our answer right now would be something like this. This is an amazing country. It has so many spectacular aspects to it. But we also have some very hard work to do here. Sometimes we treat each other terribly. And there are whole swaths of population that we have oppressed and continue to oppress to this day. We've got some hard work to do here to address the injustices and the inequality in our country. And then I wish we would say this. But on the diversity front, wow, this is one amazing place. You know, here in America, we get to see firsthand all of the beautiful and fascinating ways in which God shows up in human form. It's an honor. It's a gift. You know, it's like being treated to the great panorama of humanity rather than being confined only to the narrow channel of experience that is being with people who are like you. You see, it's like going from, you know, being plain vanilla to having just all the wonderful flavors and colors and backgrounds and everything in this amazing country of ours. You know, Jesus embraced diversity, and he wanted us to as well. If you look at his teachings and his actions, he made very pointed attacks on the so-called purity system of his day. In those days, in the sort of the Jewish social order, they had very distinctive ways of categorizing people between those who were okay and worthy and honorable and those who were not okay and were to be shunned or looked down upon. And Jesus was the great leveler, right? He said, no, all human beings are made in the image and likeness of God. All human beings are worthy of love and dignity and respect. And you know, when he said in the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, and also it's quoted in the Gospel of Thomas, he said, the kingdom of heaven is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. I don't think he was just talking about the flowers and the trees. I think he was talking about people. I think he was talking about the glorious diversity of humanity here and how each of us contributes to the whole, to an experience of what can be heaven on earth. And I think he was saying, open your eyes and see this, discover this gift. The gift of diversity came to me rather late in life. I grew up in white middle-class suburbs outside of major American cities, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta. My high school in Arlington Heights, Illinois, the northwest suburbs of Chicago, very white. My high school had 3,200 students in it. 2 of them were black. And I never talked to them. I never met them. And quite honestly, I don't believe that I ever had a real conversation of any import with a black person, or for that matter, an openly gay person, until I got to college. And of course, as I entered into the workforce, there was more diversity, but frankly, not all that much. And it wasn't until I began taking classes at Unity Village and got on the ministerial path that honestly, my narrow, confined little reality just got blown wide open. And suddenly I was learning and studying with and growing with people with very different backgrounds and life experiences than mine. And it wasn't just racial diversity or sexual orientation, it was national origin and religious upbringing and age and occupation and life experience. There was just this amazing exposure to all these different perspectives. And here we were, right, in ministerial school, all trying to figure out God and ourselves and our spirituality. It was an incredible experience. And then, of course, I came here to Unity Renaissance, where my education has continued in a very big way. I deeply, deeply love our diverse congregants, our diverse congregation. I am so incredibly grateful for the diversity here, and I hope we have even more of it. But the ways in which people who have a different background or race or sexual orientation or whatever it may be for me have helped me learn and grow and stretch myself. But more than anything, you've shared the depth of who you are with me. I can't even express what an honor that is. You know, it blesses me, it stretches me, it expands my consciousness. I'm grateful. I want you to know that. I want you to know that. And our board feels that way as well. About a year or so ago, we revisited our strategic plan. What were our key priorities and our key values? And at the very top of the list, in big multicolor letters, was the word diversity. Well, of course, we love diversity, not only because we believe and know that Unity Renaissance is here to be that open-hearted, accepting place that serves all people, but also, quite honestly, because it enriches us, because we love this experience. I would never go back to how I lived when I was a kid. I would never go back to that narrow world that, everybody liked me. This is a cherished part of who we are. This is a very challenging time. I don't have to tell you this. Very challenging time in our country right now. And in particular, those of us who are white are seeing that we need to do a far better job of educating ourselves and taking tangible action to address and correct racial injustice and inequality in our country. We've got a lot of work to do to learn more about our black and brown brothers and sisters who already know quite a lot about us. It is our turn. It is our turn to learn. But that education needn't feel like a chore or a burden. That education is a joy. Oh my gosh. We get to learn about each other in a new and beautiful way. Albert Einstein once said, "Never lose a holy curiosity." This is the time to be curious. Yes. And that is what kind of fuels that sense of joy in learning about each other. I'm very, very curious. So a couple weeks ago, and I'm so thankful Quintina's here today. A couple weeks ago, I called up Quintina just to chat with her a little bit, mostly to check in the wake of the George Floyd murder, and to hear what was going on with her and how she was doing. We had what I felt was a really beautiful conversation. Quintina being the wonderful, open-hearted soul that she is, and sharing with me. So it just felt really rich to have that conversation. And then quite unexpectedly, the conversation sort of moved into Quintina educating me about Black people's hair. Well, I'm not exactly sure how we got there, Quintina, but I'm telling you, it was amazing. So she was sharing with me about the texture, the upkeep, the special challenges there, how to maintain, how to style, all these things. And I have since discovered that there's quite a lot about hair here, and maybe someday I'll do a talk about hair because it actually goes pretty deep. And Quintina told me about a documentary called Good Hair, where Chris Rock talks about it, and I've looked at a little bit of that. But in any event, I sort of digress here. My point is this, that when Quintina was sharing this with me, I was absolutely fascinated, and a part of me thought this, I kind of always wondered about that. I kind of wondered, how does your hair feel? How is it different? How do you manage it? But I didn't think it was okay to ask. You see, I grew up being taught that you're not supposed to ever notice any racial differences. You're not supposed to ask a question around that. But Quintina let me know, oh yeah, ask. And I'm so grateful for that. It was like a door opening up. And so we can be curious at this time. It's okay to ask the question. And I like to think of it like this. Imagine how curious you would be, how many questions you would ask if you were in a foreign country and you wanted to get to know people of different background. What's your life been like? How is it for you here? How do you live your lives, right? That open curiosity. Can we have that same curiosity about people in our own country who have different skin color, sexual orientation, or religious affiliation, or political affiliation, or whatever it might be than us? Can we be curious like that? Are we willing to ask the questions? Because I believe we have permission right now. And I would say that I think it's important to ask permission before you, here, bare your soul to me, before you ask questions. But it can go far beyond and should go far beyond matters of race. So this last Wednesday night at Faith Lift, we talked about gay rights and the church. And as we were talking to the participants, a question came up that I've always sort of had in my heart that I wanted to ask. And I decided it was okay to ask it. I've always wanted to ask a gay or lesbian couple, how does it feel for you to not be able to hold hands or show affection in public? And the answer that came back was, well, we're used to that, and yes, it's sad, but we wouldn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. Wow. You see, when we ask these questions that are in our hearts, we connect on a different level with people. We create a bridge, we create an understanding. It is an absolutely amazing experience. And I have to say, you know, as incredibly difficult as these times are, as deeply painful, they've given me the opportunity to have some heart level, let's get real type of conversations that have been such a blessing. And I wish for you to do that very same thing, to initiate those conversations and then listen with your heart. You know, everyone is our teacher. That's the truth. Everyone who shows up in our lives comes bearing a gift. It may not look that way at the time, but we can be aware of that there's a gift there and we can look for that gift. And so I say this today as a reminder to all of us, but particularly I want to say it to our young people and to our YOU grads. You know, you're stepping out there into the wide open world, right? You just have such an exciting journey ahead of you. You're going to meet so many people. You undoubtedly are going to try on different relationships and different careers and different lifestyles and undoubtedly different hair colors, because evidently that's a thing now. The color of the week, whatever it is. And it's all good because it's all part of you discovering who you are. So my wish is that as you go about this process of creating your life, that you do so with the sense of open-hearted curiosity and joy. Travel as much as you possibly can, when we can again. And pay attention, be curious, ask questions, and listen to what people say. And remember that as you learn more about other people, that does not diminish you. That enlarges you, that grows you. You can even be having a conversation, as I've been blessed with recently, with someone, and you suddenly almost physically feel your heart expand. And so, to all of you who are graduating, and to those of you who have already graduated or not yet graduating, I want you to know this: that your family and your friends love you so dearly, and so do we at Unity Renaissance. That we know who you truly are. We see that divine light in you. And my wish is that you would grow into seeing that in yourself, that you would see yourself as we see you, as uniquely beautiful, as filled with promise and infinitely, listen, infinitely lovable. So wherever you go in life, whatever you do, remember, you can always come home to us, because you know what? It's a small world after all. Yeah. There's no place like home. All right, let's turn now to our meditation. Oh, Richard, please, no, don't get that earworm in her hands. Oh, my God. All right, let's just release and let go. I invite you to close your eyes and breathe in. And let it go. It is a small world. It's a big world. We're all connected at the heart level. Many differences, but all human beings living our lives, doing our best. I invite you to breathe in deeply, appreciating this now moment, releasing and letting go. Feel the good earth beneath your feet. Feel the love of God surrounding and enfolding you. Taking a moment to appreciate your own life journey. the ways in which the people along your path have given you gifts, have made a difference, perhaps opened your eyes, revealed a new perspective, all in perfect divine order. I invite you to consider for just a few moments, where is there room for you to be curious now? Where is there room and opportunities for you to step through that door of learning more about others? Ask the questions in your heart. Take a moment to consider what's next for you in the silence. We take a moment to appreciate, even with the many challenges and difficulties, how sweet life is, truly. How sweet the journey, and how sweet that we get to share it with one another. Thank you, God, for this privilege and this joy. So it is. Amen.